practice session.
No. Hello everyone, I'm Andrew Curtin, founder of Construction Wave, and I'm joined by John Ryan from SymTerra, co-founder and CEO, or the director. John, which title is it?
I go by any title that's you want to call me.
So thanks for everyone who's tuning in, whether it's through our recorded platforms or through social. But today's topic is very specific. John has a vast amount of experience in the rail industry, working in Crossrail and other different projects throughout his career. But we're talking about the recent changes in HS2 today, and some of the supply chain and some of the different issues that are arising because of this. John, first of all, what are your initial views last week when the news announced?
I think we're joined by a lot of people thinking that was quite disappointing to see this. A lot of people view this as being a short-term decision to make savings by the government for long-term pain for a lot of the northern cities that would be having a lot of benefit by having this kind of high-speed line. Now, it is high speed is one part of it, but it's also the capacity and allowing for more people to travel within these cities, better connectivity within them, and allowing people to live in one city, play in another city, and work in a third city and stuff. I think is one of the adverts was coming up for, I think, Birmingham or Manchester. So this is quite a critical loss to these cities. And if you go to Birmingham or Manchester for any kind of events, you can see these cities have really come up in the last couple of years. And allowing them to further grow, allowing them to connect between each other with a high-speed, high-frequency rail line is critical for them to continue their growth as a northern powerhouse. So it's very disappointing to see this decision being made.
And John, because SymTerra is obviously in the technology space, and we're not going to talk about too much, but it is an interesting point we had off air that there was very innovative hubs and innovation or tech innovation environments and funding happening through the HS2. And could you talk to me about some of that and some of the losses that's going to incur?
So a lot of these big projects with a much bigger budget will be able to afford and try out and test innovations that might not have development to a higher stage of acceptance. So they're more willing to go off and try out pilots and try out new bits and pieces that will help the industry move forward. So a lot of the HS2 side of things has got test environments, they have got innovation hubs, they have support for UK-based startups and other companies to be able to trial, test, innovate, and improve upon their product that ultimately will result in a better, cheaper service for customers, as well as safer to go off and maintain, operate, and travel on. And that's been quite critical for the bigger projects. And one of the big things we see with the mega projects is this is one of their key outputs as a legacy, is that innovation, is that improvement. It moves the industries forward. So this potential loss will have a big ramifications for companies trying to work within the industry, trying to move it forward and make it a safer place to be.
And from a practicality side of you, John, has it affected your future plans just with forecasts?
No, not in our side of things at the moment and stuff. I think, though, it will have implications for our clients going forward who are looking at 5-10 year plans for where their income was going to be coming. I think a lot of them had budgeted, had allowed for that income to be coming in. I mean, we're talking over 30 billion being cancelled in one week. So a lot of companies that will be impacted by that will then be impacted with their project, their future workload and stuff. Directly, we weren't on the northern section of HS2, so we're not directly impacted by that part of it, but our clients will have felt it. And I think in years to come, we will see that trickling down to across the entire supply chain, not just in the rail industry, but across the entire built world environment, because a lot of these companies have got rail divisions, but they also work in other areas such as high-rise, highways, etc.
And John, I know you worked heavily on Crossrail, and Crossrail, excuse me, had quite a cultural impact on the technology space, and you felt it made some good ground. Could you talk a bit about that, and maybe a small bit about, okay, you made so much progress in Crossrail, and now you feel like you're going a step backwards. And would I be right in saying that?
It does feel like it's kind of moved that direction. We had, CTRL, Crossrail Tunnel, at the start. We took some of the learnings from that came into some of the PPP contracts on underground side of things with London TfL. Then we had Crossrail, and at each point we took the learnings and the legacy from the previous one and started to use that for better decision making, for better, more efficient working as we're moving forward. And the Crossrail learning legacy is available online. Anybody can access it, and you can learn from that. You can use that information to make improvements in your own project. And from Crossrail, we then use that information in other projects like the Olympics, like into Tideway Super Sewer in London, which I was also working on, and eventually into HS2. A lot of these people are working across different projects. As you see, we've got a lot of the big tier ones in the UK working on these jobs and have done. And they have all been developing their own in-house systems, their own in-house process, procedures, designs to be better optimized. So all these projects move the industry forward in terms of safety, innovation, and so on. And Crossrail was it. There was a lot of negativity at the time, and when it was overruns and bits and pieces. Right now in London, nobody's complaining about the Elizabeth line. It's seen as being quite a key function of it. It's
a tourist attraction.
It is. It's becoming that, but it's a fantastic railway to be part of. And I think a lot of us who worked on it are very proud of what we did on it. People who worked in the Olympics are very proud of what they did there. And same with Tideway. You want to work with what you're proud of, and you can move things forward. And each project that we make better innovations, more improvements, safer working environment for the people that are working in the teams, that all helps us move forward as an industry and make it safer, faster, quicker, more efficient to both operate and run. So HS2 cancelling over £30 billion worth of work, taking out that Northern powerhouse linkage as well, which is quite critical, potentially stopping at Old Oak Common and not going to Euston, which is still, I believe, up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not helping attract the best and the brightest. It's not helping to go off and show we're spending the money on innovation, on railway, on the infrastructure to enable the country to move forward and grow across all these kind of northern powerhouse cities.
And what are your views on this Network North hub they're creating? They're recycling some of the money and putting into this. It was badly needed, but it's still a long way in the pipeline.
It is a long way in the pipeline, and that's the biggest problem, is that it takes a long time in this country to plan and implement any kind of major projects. So I don't believe that very many, if any, of these projects are ready to go out of the box right now. So if we took some of that money and put it into these projects immediately, they wouldn't be hitting the ground for many years in some cases.
It's just a harsh reality. It is a harsh reality. And John, you touched on safety of Crossrail, and I want to expand on that point a bit more. You achieved really good targets, and I would like to know more about some of the safety gains you made and some of the losses we're going to see because of this.
So the safety gains, and this coming from the mega projects, not only do they spend money on innovation, but they've got bigger teams. They can focus and really drill down into detail in certain key areas. And one of them is always going to be safety. So Crossrail had a central section, which was tunnel. So it was pretty much a tunneling project at that point, and then a fit out of the railway and the full systems. But on either side of it, on east and west of the main tunneling section, you had mainline works as well, going up to Shenfield, Heathrow, Reading and stuff. So you had a very, very varied operational patch of works, whether you're doing the tunneling work side of things, working on live railways, et cetera, et cetera. So they focus very much onto safety and a target zero approach to things. So they really had that approach, that ethos, that culture that they embedded in their contractors, and they could afford to do that. The amount of money spent on safety was massive on Crossrail, the amount of time and effort and stuff, and it did pay dividends. It made a big, big difference and showed the industry that we can work safer, that we can work across huge projects in a safe manner. And that ethos, that legacy, has been taken across from Crossrail and has gone into and been developed even further by the likes of Tideway, by Hinckley, Sizewell C and other big projects, as well as HS2. A lot of the same people are working across the board. So we've continually said, this is good practice. This works really well for the teams on the ground. This has made a difference. Let's implement and use that and move it forward. So, for instance, on Tideway, the HGV movement across London was seen as being a big issue, which was taken from the issues that we had on Crossrail. So Tideway then took that and went even further with low entry cabs, with better forest compliance across the board, with extra MERS and so on and so forth. And they've achieved millions of kilometers of HGV movements without an incident. And that's a phenomenal achievement on a project of that size. And that has then further informed the likes of HS2 and other projects that you can do it better. This is what it looks like, and this is what you can go off and build upon to make it a better environment to work in, not just for the workers, but also for cyclists, pedestrians, members of the public, local community, and so on. So noise control, environmental control, noise abatement, the whole lot. We've always used the best practice in the previous job to make it in the current one. And that sounds like it's mega project focused and just on mega projects. But those contractors, those subcontractors have taken that best practice and adopted themselves for their own projects outside of the mega projects. So there was a significant impact that somebody goes, well, this is the form I used on HS2. I'm going to use it on my own job because I can't be bothered to make it up myself. You're implementing best practice from the mega projects across the entire supply chain, across the industry. And that's the part that I don't think people talk enough about that impact that we have made as an industry in the mega projects across other areas that we may never see the impact of.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that the example there you gave on was Crossrail or Tideway? I can't remember which one you said. No accidents, and you like that work sometimes goes unseen and is a bit thankless because everyone just expects it. And it needs to be promoted a lot more through different channels, and especially in terms of recruitment. And I'd like to talk about that side because the job loss here, and it's just not for and I feel sorry for the current companies, but the new entrants into the market are going to be badly affected by this.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, I know that the figure for Crossrail was about 1,000 apprentices were trained up in the system. And when you kind of work on these projects, there's a pride involved in working on something, and you get your nice little gilet or kind of a nice jacket and has Crossrail on it and stuff. You see that and you're proud to be part of it. You want to be part of these kind of things, which means we attract the best and the brightest within the industry to come and work on these jobs. And they're given the opportunity to do even bigger, better things. Right now, if I was coming out of school and looking into uni as to what I'm going to be picking, and I'm hearing the news that HS2 is cancelled and other bits and pieces, I might not be inclined to go into a construction or an infrastructure type job. I might be inclined to go into a different industry altogether. So we're losing these people by not actively promoting the best of the projects out there and investing in that into the future of not just the project, but also these people, because 1,000 of those apprentices have come through the Crossrail scheme. You know, they've gone on to do lots of other bits and pieces. They become project managers. They've delivered works in their own right and stuff in their different fields. And that's making a big difference within the industry as a whole.
And just from, I'd like to get a range just in the macro environment. You don't just work with companies who are involved in rail. You work with residential contractors, commercial, and commercial developers. Could you just talk to me about some of the conversations you're having since the news broke last week, and talk to me about some of your thoughts on the industry as a whole?
I think the industry's had a lot of problems in terms of cash flow. We've got a lot of problems with inflation has been rising. Out of the G7, it's predicted that it's going to be the highest in inflation and the lowest growth across all of them. The IMF have recently come out and said that. So the UK is very much struggling in that one. Getting labour in is another issue. So we got plant, equipment, materials, labour, all having problems, as well as the cost of doing work is increasing as well. If you're stuck on a fixed price lump sum, or if your client is trying to take 10% off your contract value,
that's quite topical.
It is. But this squeeze being put onto it, and then being told that HS2 Northern Leg 30 billion has now been cancelled. Well, where is my cash flow coming in the next 5 years? And it's, as I said before, it's not just rail-only companies that are impacted, only the tier ones, because the tier ones have subcontractors and tier 2 and tier 3s delivering the works on their behalf. You have consultants, you have other people. You also have the suppliers. So any of the kind of the transport companies that supply HGVs and so on, all going to be impacted across the board on this one. So a lot of the companies right now are protecting cash flow. They're not investing in the future. They're trying to make sure they can get through the next 12 to 18 months without having any major impact on their business, being able to retain critical staff within it, being able to keep the lights on. And I think if you're looking across an entire industry and everybody is just looking to protect their business, we're not going to see innovation. We're not going to see growth. We're not going to see people moving the thing forward. And I think it's a short-termism to save a couple of billion, which in the full picture of the GDP in the country is not a big sum of money over that time frame, but it is really kind of giving a kick on it. At the same time, you know, and some people are trying to go off and build even more houses. We have got a problem with housing in the country. We've got a problem with high-rise buildings, with the Building Safety Act and the improvements that are needed there. You kind of got this push-pull in the wrong direction, and it's not working. And a lot of private developers are also holding off on development on land until they know which direction the UK is going to go. And we've got the elections in May next year. And that is going to be a lot of people holding back until the outcome of that. And we have a bit more of a stable government, hopefully, in place that will allow them to have the confidence that this is a country that you can invest in and you can move forward with, that you will make, profit at some stage. And we were all in here to go off and make money, make profit, put food on the table. That is where you need that confidence to move forward as an industry. And if you don't have it, you are just going to protect cash flow and batten down the hatches.
Yeah, and we're seeing the last couple of weeks since government implemented some new policies that subcontractors are starting to come out beating their drums like they should be about the payment terms. I've seen a post that went viral yesterday, just that one of the large subcontractors just said these payment terms were just saying no, just whether 60, 90 days, we need to know consistently when we're getting the money. And I remember reading one article or was a post, and someone just said, look, I don't have a foot to stand on when I'm working with these main contractors. But some people actually think you might have a bit more of a foot to stand on, but it's just up in the air at the moment. The main thing is that it's good to see these subcontractors coming together and looking for better terms, because it's one of the only industries that this happens in, and only countries actually. There's countries in Australia, New Zealand, that these types of payment plans just do not exist, and it's just really unethical, some of it.
Yeah, it is becoming a rising issue across the board, but we are seeing issues with the reduced orders for materials as well is also coming out as there is a slowdown in the industry. So that is putting a massive squeeze on everybody in every direction. And if you are not running a very efficient business and efficient projects, and you know where your risks are, you're not managing your risk efficiently, then you have got a significant exposure contractually, commercially, to these claims from contractors and stuff. So I think one of the biggest thing we've advised our clients has been, you need to put yourself in the best position of commercial defensibility, that when you do put in your payment applications at the end of the month, you have got the right information to hand to support and back up those claims without adding significant administration workload to you and your company that then makes it cost time inefficient, and therefore you will accept that 10% write down by your client because you have got no way of fighting against it. And that's the bit that has been critical of a lot of businesses for their survival, has been astuteness in commercial defensibility and ensuring that you are paid for what you have done in the right timeframes.
John, we're going to leave it at that. Is there anywhere you want to send people if anyone wants to get in touch about some of your comments today or some of your insights, LinkedIn or any other channels?
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and bits and pieces. We are kind of active on that space. So anything that we do share with the wider community. We do like to go off and share our lessons learned, our experience, our background, and we try to go off and make sure that, whether you're a client of ours or not, that we are trying to help the industry as well move forward, a better understanding of things. So we are going to be doing some talks and bits and pieces with people to go off and kind of better educate people on how to use data more efficiently to protect their business and kind of help them out. So check us out on LinkedIn or on SymTerra.com.
Perfect. Thanks, John.